Hey, everybody. Happy Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Whenever you're seeing this, welcome to the Impact Podcast. Um, look at that. Look at that. Here's our other friend, Dr. Obiang.
On time, just on time.
welcome. Welcome, everybody. Yes, we are just getting started and we are so excited to welcome everyone to a new episode of the Impact Podcast. Big change. We just added the name. This is bigger impact in all the things that we do. I'll say that. We have an amazing guest today. So excited to start talking with her. We have Leslie with us, and you know my sisters Empower, Damaris, and Dr. Obiama. Um, Here's what we're going to be talking about. We're talking about building a supportive environment. That environment can be at home, it can be at work, it can be wherever you are. And if you know, like I know, a lot of times what can make or break environments is communication. So we really want to talk about how we can encourage open communication and share values in whatever space we're in. And who better than Leslie, she will definitely tell you all about herself. But I felt like she was the perfect person to talk about this topic. So without further ado, Leslie, we welcome you, and we would love if you could share
Thank
a little bit about
you.
who Leslie is.
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me to grace you all and just having the honor of being here. So, thank you for asking me to join you ladies today. I love talking about this kind of thing because it's part of, who we are as women. We're nurturers. This is what we do by nature, right? But who is Leslie? Who is she? Oh gosh. Okay, so my core is I'm a woman of God. I love Jesus. He is the center of all of my joy. Without him, I have no being. So let's just start there, right? And then he has allowed me to now have a wonderful husband of nearly 3 decades, 12 beautiful, amazing children as a result of the amazing union. I currently serve as a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army for nearly 3 decades, and I'm getting ready to sunset that chapter of my life. Thank you. It's been a great ride, but I am getting ready to leave my zone of excellence and enter my zone of genius. And I'm excited about that. I am an author, speaker, a coach, all the things. But most of all, I like to consider myself to be just an authentic human being who likes to aim at people, AIM, and that is to add value, to inspire, and to make a difference in every life that I come in contact with. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. I tend to be a jokester. I love to laugh because I do believe laughter is good for the soul. We can't take ourselves too serious all the time. We know we have enough strife in the world, so it is important to laugh and move those stomach muscles and, release those endorphins. Um, and I teach Zumba. I teach cycling, when my knees are not talking to me. But overall, just a fun loving person that just enjoy life and choose to live it like it's golden. So
Yes.
that's who I am in a nutshell. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
big.
So
Big. Well, first, let's stop for a minute
listen,
and just again, thank you for your service. How many years have you been?
it
With
will
me?
be
By the time my sunset, I just hit 26, so it'll be 27. 27 and
wow.
18 days to be exact when I hang up my boots. Yes.
27
Wow,
years. That is amazing. And I just
that
want to
is
thank you
amazing.
for your service for 27 years.
You are so welcome.
Yeah.
And I heard you
Almost
you
there.
mention the 3 decades. I was like, you got a lot done in 3 decades, right? And so we cannot gloss over because I'm still learning in motherhood. I cannot gloss over 12 children. And when we're talking about an environment where there is communication, values, and all the things that come with us,
Mm-hmm.
please tell us how you have navigated, right? Because I'm talking for me right now. How have you navigated communication and just keeping we could call it whatever we want, a peaceful household, a household that right, you said Jesus is the core of your life, and being able to just I'm sure you are the glue, part of the glue in your home. How? With 12 children, a husband, and Leslie. Can you tell us how?
I think, and let me preface this by saying I did not necessarily start with what I'm about to say. I've had to morph into this. So let me free someone right off the bat. Because I think oftentimes when people listen to you speak or you give your experience, they're like, oh my gosh, she's been that way the whole time. No, let's not be fooled. Let's be clear. This took growth and maturity and just learning from your life's experiences and allowing them to really teach you and mold you. So let me just start there. But as far as communication, now, present Leslie, I really embrace who I am to my core, and I embrace my areas to refine and recognizing that I am a human being. What does that mean? I have imperfections, right? And I embrace those. Many of us tend to shy away from because nobody wants to look at, oh gosh, I fall short here. But it's in those imperfections where we learn really what we're made of, truly. So, in terms of communication, I'll use myself and my husband, for example. One season of our marriage, it's like, okay, well, you're saying this to me, but that's not what I'm hearing you say. And instead of verbally saying, well, I think I heard you say XYZ, I would walk off and say, well, I think I heard him say ABC. But really, he said XYZ. But because I didn't verbally confirm that's what he said, I would internalize it. So now I say, well, did you say, or this is what I think I heard you say.
Yes.
Can you verify that?
Yes.
So one, embracing who you are, knowing that you're human and being okay with that. And number two, being bold and being intentional about verbally communicating back and forth in a healthy manner.
Yes.
And those same principles we try to teach to our children. They fight like cats and dogs. Yes, they do. They love each other, yes. But oftentimes they run, knock, knock, knock. Mom, dad, so and so did such and such. I'm like, do a U-turn, go back, and try to resolve that thing at your level. Because I'm trying to teach them now at a young age conflict resolution.
Yep.
So that when you become 13, 14, 15, 16, 26, you've kind of learned those things at a younger age. And my prayer is that you'll get those things a lot sooner than we did. So that when you do enter your adulthood, it's not like, oh my gosh, this person is from Venus and I'm from Mars. It doesn't have to be that way. We just make it that way. And then we are sold to the illusion of perfectionism. That's a disease. Nobody's perfect walking around here. So if we can learn to one, appreciate ourselves as imperfect people coming in contact with imperfect people, but strive to have a healthy and balanced relationship with each other, then you can try to create an environment that's striving for perfection. Realizing you'll never reach it. Let's be clear on that too. But you can strive for it in a healthy way. So that's kind of how we try to communicate around these parts. But again, it takes time and patience with yourself and realizing that you have to give each other grace along the way and give yourself grace along the way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I literally was talking to so many different things I thought about, but my husband and I were talking the other day about, being in relationship with one another and people, right? We have lots of friends and always trying to figure out how to matchmake and not really matchmake, but, encouraging relationships. But we were talking about the fact that it seems like a lot of times people miss one another, very similar to what you just said, because we may have had some background stuff going on and someone could have said something like you said, like I heard one thing, they were saying something else, but because of my triggers and because of my history, I'm really bringing that into the relationship. And sometimes because in this relationship, I'm not fully aware of maybe your history, you're not aware of mine. we
Mm-hmm.
miss one another a lot. So how
Mm-hmm.
do we have two people come together that have a past, and we're trying to move forward in the future, but we keep missing one another, not because we want to,
Mm-hmm.
but our past really has some things that we're still working through, but we can't really communicate it. Right. And we
Right.
literally, the more we were talking about it, we was like, so what are we supposed to do? And I'll never forget him telling me, he told me years after it happened, but he told me that my father had a conversation with him and was like, listen, let me tell you who my daughter is. Let me tell you about her. And it allowed him to understand who I was. And I was like, it's that type stuff that if we could have that to where as though it's like, listen, hi, I'm Aaliyah. And let me tell you a little bit about me and my past. So if this comes up, I need you to, right? Like, I wish we could have those type of conversations where it's like, sometimes some things may come up, but it's not you. I'm working through some things. If you could have a little grace. But it seems like what happens is it's quickly people take offense quickly. And then once I'm offended, now I'm going to offend you. And then it was back and forth, and the communication is broken. So I don't know if you ladies have had that experience, but
It's so funny, I'm listening to you. Me and my husband bumped heads. My husband came from a really machismo, lifestyle, Puerto Rican, and he has 8 siblings, and all the brothers were brought up like, they are the men, and they are the ones that control, and the wives that they had before my husband was married before, and they were very controlling. I was really brought up in the streets, and I was very dependent since very day one, right? Because I needed to always depend on me. So we bumped heads a lot. Although we loved each other, we bumped heads a lot. And there was a lot of, until this day, we still bump heads, right? We learned how to disagree, right? To still agree to disagree. And then we come back to things, right? So the arguments are just less, we're into 2.5 decades together. And we just kind of like learned that. But one thing that I have learned is that I learned how to puppeteer. And I heard this from somebody very bright. And the way she said it, I was like, you're a fool. And she said, no, listen, marriage is like puppeteering. You got to learn how to puppeteer, right? You have to allow your husband the space. You're too strong. And you have to allow him the space to make those decisions, and to respect him, and to welcome his thoughts, and to welcome, although I might not, agree to them, but I had to learn that myself too, right? I had to put my guard down, because I was brought up being by myself, and a household. I was the only girl in my house, by the way. I actually was brought up, I don't know if you knew this, Celia, in Camp Lejeune, in Marine base, because I was being trained to become a Marine as well, because I was that undisciplined child. So they flew me off to North Carolina. All of that, came to me where I was so angry, such an angry child, that I had such a shield up, that when I became an adult, I just brought all of that trauma, all of those shields with me. And then I didn't know how to love. I didn't know how to accept love, right? And I didn't know how to trust. So it took so much time, for a lot of time, for me to be open to that. I love my husband, and still to this day, how to communicate. Now I know how to take a deep breath and not say what I want to say, really, and just listen to the whole entire thing, allow that space, and then say, well, what I heard you say was, just to repeat, just to make sure, that we got it together. So those little tricks that I've learned as a wife, to have those open communication. And not only that, even to my children. It's funny, my kids were here yesterday. They came to celebrate Juneteenth with me, and we're all together. It was really nice. It was unexpected. Everybody came. And my daughter said, "Oh, you traumatized us." And I was like, "Why?" She's like, you never hugged us. You're not a hugger. You're not an affectionate person. You're just very like blah, blah. Yes, you say you love us. And yes, we know you love us. But you're just, it is what you want, and that's it. We don't have room, to say things. And, even hearing them say this as women, I I know that what they said is true. And those are things that I'm working on, things that I cannot change. I can't change the past, but I definitely said to them, but look at you today having an open conversation with me about this, and I'm not upset. So we need to celebrate what's today, right? So communication and whole is like a work in progress, and it is, all the
Sure.
time. So
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing is having really good emotional intelligence. We know there's four parts of it. And that first part, that first component is self-awareness.
Mhm.
What are your emotional triggers? How do you show up? Why do you show up the way you do? And really being in tune with your past traumas, with your past triumphs, your experiences, period. Because all of your experiences, I heard someone say this, I don't take credit. I heard it and I thought, oh, that's so good. But all of your experiences, they're mosaic.
yes,
They're all a part of the
Mhm.
picture, all a part of the puzzle that make you, Damaris.
yes.
You being hardcore and want it this way and that. Though I know your kids said they feel traumatized, what have you, but some of that helped them along the way.
Oh yeah,
And so for you now it's finding that sweet balance of, okay, let me give you my softer side now as adults. Because they're
yes,
still gonna need it. They're still
Yeah.
gonna need the softer side of mom. And now you have the opportunity to give them that. So really it's just being in tune with yourself as well. So that's good.
Yes. Yes. I love
Mm-hmm.
that. I love that. And it's something too. I heard you say. I don't want to forget this, so I want to ask it. You mentioned you are moving from your zone of excellence to your zone of genius, and
yes.
I definitely wanted to hear
Yes.
more about. Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Woo!
I wrote that down too. I was like, oh, that's
And
good.
I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to forget it. So I definitely would love to touch on that if you can.
Yes. And I hope everybody hears this part. In the army or your job or your whatever, you're trained to do the thing.
Mhm.
And the difference between zone of excellence and your zone of genius, your zone of excellence, you learn how to um, be an HR person. You learn how to do IT. You learn how to do whatever your specialty is, and you're good at it. But your zone of genius, that's where your purpose lies. That's when it's effortless. That's when you are like running so fast to it. That's when you can be dog tired and you have that, I just got to get up and do it. I got to get up and, oh my God, got to download something into me. And I have to get up in the middle of the night or early in the morning when ordinarily I wouldn't want to, but I'm so passionate about the thing. I have my 10 episodes, my next season for my podcast, because that's my zone of genius.
Yes.
Me coaching people, me talking to women, me inspiring people, that is my zone of genius. And I am looking forward to being in that zone all of the time.
I love
I
that.
appreciate my zone of excellence. I do. I love what I do. I love soldiering. I love leading. I will miss components of that. But that zone of genius, it's a whole different world. Oh
Mm,
man. And
mm,
it's limitless.
yes.
It's juicy.
I love it. Oh my God. I love it. I even love how you even explain zone of excellence as well, because um that's definitely something I believe as well, no matter what we're doing for our career, our job, you know, I, and I don't know if that's me, just the generation we're in, but it's like while you're in it, we definitely should be working at excelling in that thing. But I do also believe it's setting us up for that moment where we can say, okay, that part of my life is done. I can step into this space. Because believe it or not, it is the training. It's the training.
Mm-hmm.
And so that makes me wonder too. I am not fully familiar with the army life. And my dad was an army man. And I promise you, it's funny too, because some of the disciplines that he had, I hated as a kid. I hated, he was so big on making your bed, right? And Damaris, now I've read the book, and now making my bed is a thing for a different reason. But I used to be like, why do I need to wake up, make the bed that I'm getting back in? I don't understand it, right? But I'm thinking about a lot of the training that he had, and I would love for you to speak to as well the training in the army life that really has prepared you though for life, which I'm sure a lot of us, the careers that we've had a lot of preparation, not knowing that it was
Mhm.
preparing us for the zone of genius.
Mm. Oh gosh, my training. So as a lieutenant, immediately, I think I was 22 or so. Immediately I came in leading close to 60 people, like immediately. And I thought, these folks are old enough to be my parents. And I'm supposed to lead them. Now you have who's called non-commissioned officers. Those are the ones that's been in for 20 something years, and you lean to them to train you. And any good officer, they're going to pay attention and allow them to take you under their wings, right? Because you have some people that kind of arrogant. Well, I'm the lieutenant, but if you are a wise lieutenant, you're going to listen to that E7 or E6 that's been around the block for a minute. But my training has given me confidence, discipline, um, a way to think strategically. Not saying I wouldn't have if I hadn't come into the military, but I think I got it a lot faster because the nature of my job, I'm training people to go to war and to come back home. I'm training people to be ready to go and survive and come back home. So it's not necessarily your ordinary thing. So it's not just training in your craft, but we wear the uniform to go to war. That's ultimately what we're here for. And so learning those things and now being able to translate those things into my zone of genius, I take my zone of excellence with me. And that's only going to heighten my zone of genius. And that's going to I think make my zone of genius even more impactful because, like I said, in my zone of genius, now I'm in the purpose, more of my purpose zone, more of my calling. And those things that I learned in the Army in terms of my training and the discipline and thinking strategically and globally and all of those things, it all funnels. It all funnels and it all works in tandem together. And it's a beautiful, I'm realizing now, the closer I get to retirement, such a beautiful tapestry that this is becoming. And I
Mm.
cannot wait. Do I look excited?
A little bit too excited. Look at her. Just like,
Look like I'm retiring. I'm like,
yes, 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 yes.
And I'll
You
say
know,
this too, because I'm actually there's a book that's being written as we speak, and it should be released, or I'll start pre-selling towards the part as I get closer to retirement. But and I don't think it's just the military. I think it's in any field that you, whatever area you've been doing a thing for a very long time, you become somewhat conditioned, maybe institutionalized a little bit because you've been doing that thing for so long. But I would say specifically, a lot of those of us that's been in the military, there's a level of angst and anxiety that comes when you're about to transition out here because you put your uniform on, you know what you're going to wear every day, doesn't change, you look like everybody else. So, for me, putting on heels and a suit and all of that, some people, they get stressed. Me, I'm like, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. Amazon's my friend. I've learned how to shop frugally and look like $1 million at the same time. I look forward to it. Whereas some people, they struggle. They struggle with their identity
mm,
because they're used to being Colonel so and so or Sergeant so and so and that status and stuff that comes with that. So I try to encourage people, hey, while you're on active duty, tap into your other layers. What other layers are to you outside of the uniform? Because eventually you're going to lay the uniform down, or eventually you may lay corporate down, or your law degree, or whatever. Don't lose sight of those other layers that are attached to you. And I think that's where people start to get, a little anxious because they're like, you're going to miss them. Like, yeah, I'm sure I'm going to miss some things, but I have jets on my feet. Leslie is ready
yeah.
because I know there's a world out here and I've gotten a taste of it. And there's so much
no,
more to
I,
do.
I, um, I read something and I remember years ago, and I believe this was some kind of June as I was with a lot of people, and I'm a listener and I'm an observer, And one of the things that we were talking about so many years ago was that a lot of people that join, not a lot, the majority of people, or there's a high percentage of people that join the military is because they need a place, or they want a place of belonging, because the world that they're currently living in is not the world that they want. So they go to the military searching for that. So when they're leaving the military and coming back to the civilization, they become, I want to say that might be one of the reasons. I'm not a doctor, but I'm saying that might be a reason for the hesitance, because everything was surrounded about the military, the life, the brotherhood, the sisterhood, right? The family. And then coming back to that empty space for the same reason that they joined the military, right? So what would you say to folks that are going through that transition for those reasons?
So first thing I would say, and I would say this, and this is a conversation I intend on having with some of my leaders, even as I'm transitioning along. I think we have not done the best job of talking to our younger soldiers, our younger officers at the younger ages, saying, hey, this is one layer of you. Explore other things while you are on active duty, because everyone isn't going to do 20 years or what have you. Everyone isn't going to retire. Only 1% of us serve, and about 17% of us have retired, right? That's a very small number in the big scheme of things. So find out, what are your passions? What else are you good at? What else do you like? And find other tribes outside of the military while you're in the military. And I think because I'm an extrovert, I'm a social butterfly. I love talking. I just love people. So for me personally, I haven't really struggled with that. You know, I'm in a sorority. I have other groups. I have church. I have other people that I'm attached to. So it's never been really an issue for me. But you are absolutely right when you say people have come in for a sense of belonging, and then when they leave, they're like, "Oh my gosh." Just recently, maybe 2 weeks ago, I was talking to a very good friend of mine. He's like a big brother to me. We actually came through our basic course together. And I said, "Hey, bro, tell me about retirement life. I'm so ready. You know, give me your, thoughts and how you doing it." And he said, "Sis, I'm depressed." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Wait, what?" He said, "Yeah, I don't feel like I have purpose. All of my friends were military." And of course, I'm gonna be sensitive to how he's feeling, and I want to validate how he's feeling, because there's a real raw feelings, right? And you don't know where it can take people. So I want to honor that space, and then of course I'm gonna try to encourage him and saying the same things I'm saying now. But it just reminded me why, as leaders, when we're in these positions of influence, we have to do a better job of infusing that thought pattern. Find some additional tribes outside of the green suit, because eventually you're going to have to put that down. And then it doesn't mean when you get out of the military that you have to detach. You don't. We have alumni associations, and we have events you can come back even as a civilian and participate. So you don't have to. Somewhere I think people feel like they have to like detach themselves. You really don't. I guess it's just the everyday, going to your job, seeing your people, seeing. So that's what I would say for those that are transitioning, thinking about transitioning. Just find some other pockets. Like us, I wouldn't have met Aaliyah if I hadn't been in the tribe with Lisa, motivating the masses. And now I know you, Damaris, and other people. And then people are attached to people. You see how this goes? Yeah. So that's probably what I would say.
I love
Find
that.
other tribes.
And as you were talking, I thought about, right, this is military life, this is everyday life in regards to here's the person that I am now. And I remember you opened up by saying, like the mother that I am now, I wasn't the mother, wife, I wasn't that person years ago. And so we have this life where the layers change, and how do we navigate that same transition Damaris was talking about so many different times in life, right? It's like I'm a different person. My friend groups are different. My tribe is different. And you're right. Even joining Lisa's program, that was a leap. That was a leap, because I'm like, this is can be uncomfortable. It's a space I want to be in or grow into, but it's uncomfortable. But it's also necessary. So I'm thinking about even the young woman, or like my daughters. I have, my youngest is 9, they go up to mid-20s. That they're in different stages in their lives. And my husband and I are always talking about them navigating relationships. And my daughter, she's going to the 7th grade. She's like, oh my gosh, right? So I'm really thinking about the transitions that we may be making every year. We may be making when we transition from one career to another, or I'm a new woman now. So how do I learn to transition and shed that layer and connect with people that can help me get to that next level? So I guess my question is, how do we, and you answered it really in part, Leslie, but now I'm really thinking wider in regards to the consistent shedding that we experience, and how do we feel comfortable with that, with saying, you know what, I actually have to let go of that comfortable space and move into this new space that's a little uncomfortable, and I'm not used to being around these people. And so how do I navigate that? I don't know if you have an answer,
but so though I have grown, your core and who you are to your DNA self, that's going to be what it is. Let me say that too. But you will evolve over time. And you just have to be really intentional over the evolution process. And try your best to recognize, oh, I think I'm going through a shift here. It feels that I am changing. And recognizing it for yourself, and then making sure that you let others around you know, hey, you know what, I think I'm going through a little shifting. If I seem a little different, nothing that you're doing, nothing that you're doing, 'cause, people can get offended. Maybe you don't talk as much, or maybe you're talking more than you used to. I don't know. Hey, I'm going through a shifting, and I want you to bear with me as I go through this evolution, because we're all going to do that. And like you say, it could be year after year.
yes.
How you think is going to change, thus how you act is probably going to change. Who you surround yourself is going to change. I was listening to the book called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, one of my faves. And he cited Dr. McCallahan from Harvard University. And he did some research where he said the people that you habitually, note the key word, habitually, I want to foot stomp that, habitually hang around with have 95% to do with your successes and failures in life. I had to rewind that like 5 times. I said, what did he say? And who said that? And I went and I researched it some more because I wanted to make sure. I said, no, that can't be right. Factual. So what does that mean? Who's influencing you? So who you hung in your 20s with, that's going to change in your 30s. That's going to change in your 40s. And trust me, I've had people to say, oh, well, she's bougie. That's fine. Or she's this, or she's that. All of it's fine. It's fine with me. I'm okay with it. What I know is that I am growing to spaces where I know God has called me to. And sometimes in that evolution, sometimes in elevation, excavation is required.
Oh, that's good.
In elevation, separation is required.
Write that down, Aaliyah. Put it in the chat for
Listen,
folks.
in elevation, more preparation is required. And so, in our evolution process, these are the things that we have to be cognizant of in our shifting. It's all a part of it. So, when we recognize it, don't shy away from that thing. Embrace it and understand that it's seasonal. It ebbs and flows. It's coming. There's no avoiding it. There's no getting around it. There's no, it's coming one way or another. And once as a person, as a human being, when you understand that it's coming, then you're like, okay. And then you can prep those that surround you. And those that love you deeply and that are with you and that are for you and that are authentically trying to ride with you, guess what? They're going to evolve with you.
With you.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness, that is such.
Because those that you habitually hang with have 95% to do
95%.
with your successes and failures in life. Come
Can
on,
we
sisters.
listen, I am going to say that, and I'm gonna translate that in Spanish just to make sure I say it in my. You understand that
And then,
I it's powerful. It is powerful. You are absolutely correct. And
yeah.
I was thinking yesterday I was on social media and saw one of my cohort members from the Goldman Sachs SP6 program. Her children last year went off to college and she has an empty nest. And her husband were struggled for a year transitioning themselves into finding themselves because just like so many years of service, we service our children,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And when they're gone, you look at each other or maybe by yourself, so if you're a single parent and you're like, what, now I have to do me, right? Some of them fly, like they were just waiting for that moment, right, just to close the door and be out. But some of them really struggle, and this particular person struggled a little bit into finding herself and her husband. Girl, I was so proud yesterday. I was reading, they sold their house that they had for 28 years bringing up these children, this beautiful rancher, and they sold it and they bought a smaller house, and they're starting a whole new life, just her and her husband, which I think that's very bold, but embracing it, right? They've embraced, who they are, the transition of their lives. And I was thinking to myself, who, number one, I know that's coming, right? I'm foreseeing that, right? That pretty soon my daughter's going to be like, bye, deuces. I'm going to go, do my own life. And I've dedicated myself to working my children in my house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the little bit of time to me, that's why this year and for the past 2 years, I've been saying to myself, I'm going to be apologetically about me, unapologetically, right?
Oh,
So I'm going
oh
to do
yes.
me
Okay. Mm-hmm.
unapologetically because I have to start transitioning into that role of taking care of me and finding who I am after children,
That's
right?
good.
Right. And I feel like, back to my friend, they found what their mission is going to be, right? They're starting their new journey, this new exploration, and it's exciting. It's exciting, right? I just cannot wait. So as we were talking, all those things were like coming to my mind and saying, wow, we do transitions all the time, work, the military, your children moving out, retiring. There are so many, your journey with God, finding a place, finding, people that you can connect to, the 95% of people. I remember my dad, when you said that, my dad used to tell me who you flock with and I'll tell you who you are.
Hmm.
Mm.
Trying to
Tell
tell
me who
you.
Mm.
you hang with and
Jim
I'll tell
Rohn,
you
he
who you
says
are,
it.
right?
Yeah, Jim Rohn says it. You're the average of the fives, the
Yes,
five people that you hang with.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And this all brought that together where, you want to be around people that are going to help you build. That's why I only have maybe 5 people in my hand. Then not even, I don't even think it gets that far, right? I'm really, really tight knit. And so that way, when you are going through those transitions, I can be like, Aaliyah, sis, I'm really depressed. Just like you have your army brother, right? That coming to you and say, I'm really depressed, and being open to having those conversations. And maybe Aaliyah has something, to tell me, or saying, girl, come with me. We're gonna go do a facial and we're gonna figure this out together or whatever, but to have that support team as well when you're not at your very, very best is important, as important to having that support team to celebrate you when you're at your highest. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna stop
Oh,
that.
that's
I'm gonna stop
good.
it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, that's so good. I mean,
So true.
it's so true. It's so true. You have to
Mm.
find the people, and you have to be okay with. I think some of us too. Oh, I've been knowing so and so since 1932, and you may, but you have to be okay with sometimes, even if it was a long season. some seasons may come to an end. And it's
Even
not
when it comes to
anything,
family members, I just want to add that in, but
family too. And it's not necessarily because anything bad happened.
Right.
It's simply because you're evolving. And when you're evolving, everyone can't go with you, and everyone may not grow with you. And every time you do not show up into your assignment, you
Mhm.
have to ask yourself, who are you leaving behind because you refuse to show up where you're supposed to be because you're hanging on to Susie, who
Yeah.
you've known since 1932. She's not part of where you need to be anymore.
Yeah.
So now these 10 people over here, they're going to suffer because of your lack of obedience.
Yeah.
Lord have mercy. I
Yep.
digress.
Yep. And that takes me back to even thinking about your zone of genius, right? It's like that transition and who are the people that we are supposed to encounter once we get to that space. And we can
Yeah.
hold ourselves back. It's comfortable sometimes in some spaces. It's
Yeah.
comfortable. And I feel like we say we want to grow and we say we want to, be this person and do these things, but we can't do it staying stuck. And that's
Right.
hard. That can be hard sometimes. I know as a mom, I have learned now over the years. I learned so much even through my children. I feel like their generation, they seem to be more fearless and they just go for
Oh, yeah.
things. They right and they
Oh,
and
yeah.
so watching them a lot of times, I'm really like, I love and respect that about you. I love the fact my youngest is so talk about unapologetically her. She's like, the whole world is doing it. I don't want to do that. I'm gonna go and I watch her be herself. And it's like, I love that about you. And I think sometimes as adults we're so used to being who we have been the past whatever number of years, and we kind of stay there. um, Even this conversation about transition and retiring, I know my mom has forever said she's the one person I could say seems to be in her zone of excellence and genius. Like this is her thing, and she has no desire. She's talking about retiring, but I don't think it's in the way that people typically retire. The industry has changed so much, but she loves this work so much. And she's like, there is a fear. She said most people that seem to retire, they get sick and they die. I got to
Oh,
keep moving. So she's
that's
like,
so interesting that
nope.
you said that.
And she
So,
and I'm like, I'm thinking about a number of people, and they seem to get they're sick. They don't, and I don't know if that's related to purpose. Is it this depression? Like, what is it? Are you not moving your body? But she's like, not me. I will be there tomorrow at 6 a.m. and every morning she is.
that's a real thing. So, to put it in terms where you ladies can understand, we have a position that's called the Sergeant Major of the Army. He is the top enlisted person, top dog, way up there with the 4 stars. He's sitting right next to the 4 star. So I ran into, I think he was our 12th Sergeant Major of the Army. His name, Jack Tilley. And I was going somewhere and he was behind me, said, "Hey, how you doing?" And I said, "Hey." And I was looking at him, but you don't want to stare at people. And I thought, I know him, but I don't know, where. I couldn't connect the dots. And then finally he said, "Sergeant Major of the Army, retired Tilley." I said, "Oh yeah, hey." And I was like, "How's retirement?" And he kind of looked at me. I said, "Sergeant Major, did you take a knee?" He said, "Well," I said, "You didn't take a knee?" And at this point, I'm kind of admonishing him. I said, "Why didn't you take a knee, Sergeant Major?" And he looked at me and he said, "Because I thought I would die." And he was so just direct about it. And I could feel his energy, like he's really serious. And he says, "No, I'm better with it now." And he has a podcast and he's talking to people and soldiers and stuff. But it's like a real thing where people feel like, he served 37 years roughly doing army, that he really thought if he stopped,
Yes.
that his body would stop
Yep.
with him.
Yes.
And I'm just like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh. That's it's part of it. It's
Yeah.
part of it. But
And
you don't have
surely
to
when
you
she
don't
said it,
have
I'm
to
like,
stop
don't
though.
retire.
Like you can still do You could
That's
just
it.
do in another capacity. So he's doing that now, and he's, like I said, he's out here ministering to people and talking to people, and he looks great and he's wonderful, But he had to mentally like shift gears
It's the
and
shifting.
allow himself to take the vacations and self care. I think sometimes we say self care like it's a cliche. No, it's a real thing. It needs to be a part of your diva or devo treatment.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Babies, I love you so much. I had to tell my 5-year-old, listen, don't bother me for like an hour. Do not knock on my door. I'll be with you as soon as I'm done.
Yeah.
Me being on a podcast, it's part of my self care.
That's,
Because this is like a release for me, just to be able to just talk,
Yeah.
yeah.
have conversations, right?
So true. That's so true. And I love what you
Yeah.
said. I think a lot of times that we do need to think differently about like retiring, for example. That doesn't mean it stops, right? And I think what we had to kind of work with my mom on is, I'm not saying, right, like don't enter the doors. You don't have to be here Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's it. Start taking a lunch break. Let's start there, right? Like, let's start with half a day. Let's start somewhere, because if anything, right, I want her to be well. I want her to be okay with it. But I also want her to, I just want her to feel free. So whatever that looks like, that's it. That's all I'm saying. Just know that you have options. I never wanted her to feel like she had to. That's
I
it.
have 4 years, 4 more years to retire. 4, because it's
He's like, let me tell you about my retirement. 4 years done.
Even if I'm not doing, but it is to go to the next level of me.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've been servicing children and families, and with the schools and everything, and I want to continue doing that, but just at a different level.
Yeah.
And I need to find. I think I'm finding that level. I'm finding me, the new me, every single day. I'm like, oh, I didn't know I could do this. I didn't know I can empower people to do this. Wow, I'm doing this. All right, we're gonna go there. Because I trust in God, and I trust that God is gonna send me where He needs me best, right? To serve Him. So that's what I've been doing. But I gave myself 5 years to be able to step back and allow myself to step into the new me.
Love it.
Does that make sense? Like, because we're focused sometimes where we're committed to work and all these things like robots, because that's what this world makes us, right? This is what, it is what it is when we come out. Yeah. Yes, that conditioning. That's the exact word I was looking for. That conditioning of work, home, church on Sundays, work Monday through Saturday. Because really, let's keep it real, even though it's supposed to be off on Saturdays for us, we're still working. We're still working, right? Because we're conditioned to do that. I gave myself 4 years to enjoy, 4 more years to close that out and position myself where I work if I want to work. Right? Yeah. That I have options, and I may still want to work, but I need that to be an option and not an obligation.
Yes.
That's it.
Choices, freedom.
That's it.
Yes, it's the freedom.
Just even saying it, it's like,
it feels so good.
Right.
And like you said, like even the learning me part, like that part right there is so amazing. It is so, I enjoy trying to finding just the path to finding. Like I do like that. I don't like that. I do like that, right? And I think we spend so many years getting to know our spouses, getting to know our children. Like I know my kids, right, before they were even born, right? But in terms of myself, I'm learning more and more. And like you said, capacity. I'm just connecting with really one of the most resilient moments that I've had in my life, which I never looked at it that way until recently, which was like childbirth. And I'm like, I did that. I can do anything, anything. Because for me, childbirth was so difficult. Like I'm talking, I was trying to get up on the table. Like, y'all, never mind. Everybody go, I just don't want to do it. Never mind. But of course I could. But I'm looking back at like 3 times. I was like, I can do anything. And so when I think about just the resilience and what I am capable of. That's the part that I'm learning. Like all the things I'm capable of. It's like limitless. Like you said, that's one of my favorite books too. Limitless by I forgot his name. It's somewhere up here. But Quick. Yes. Yeah, Jim Quick. But that's the part that I'm enjoying is the freedom. And again, looking at my children and seeing how free you can be, learning how much more free I can be because of right the living in the confines of the childcare industry, and it's regulated and it's like so it's a lot of boxes, but it doesn't have to be. And that's the part that I'm enjoying is that I could really do what I want to do and defining what that is.
Yeah.
And then from there, helping other people as well. And that's what I've learned that I enjoy as well is helping other people find the same thing. And we just be free together. Like birds, we just all flying together.
We can
like
be free together.
all of us.
Yes.
Oh, let's just do it. Let's just do
Be
it.
free together. Yes. It's
I
so
love
crazy. I was talking to one of my staff members. This was like months ago. And my position is pretty high visible position, pretty demanding position. And she said, "Ma'am, you're the only." It's called G1 for general staff, and the one is for HR. You're the only G1 that moves the way you move. And I thought, what do you mean? I don't know what that means exactly. But I think because I am a free spirit, and I also make sure that there's just a level of freedom that I need and that I require, even in my high visible position. I would give 150% to my unit, but I have to give 200% to my family first. My husband, my children, make sure home is good,
Yes.
make sure Leslie's good. And then,
All right.
because they further explained that, eventually, maybe a few weeks after that, 'cause that was really sitting with me like, what did she mean when she said that? So I asked, I was like, I need you to explain what that means. So, and she says, well, a lot of our G1s before, they would be so like stressed out and just working super late. And I just thought, well, I got to get home to my family. I already spend 2 to 5 hours every day in my car driving. So let's just not even talk about the commute.
How many? How
2
many?
to 5 hours. 2 to 5 hours in my car, Monday through Friday. That's a whole nother podcast. But but anyway, like I got to get home to my family. I have to be a wife. I have to be a mom. And I just have made it clear to whatever the organization that I'm in, I have to have that level of freedom to do that. Because if my main unit, meaning my family unit, if they're whole and healthy and they're intact, I can give y'all the world,
Yeah.
Army, and give you whatever you need from me.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't necessarily operate in one of our Army values, which is personal courage, to make sure that you can say, hey, sir, ma'am, I got to take care of this so I can take care of this. Now, granted, sometimes, I might have to say, hey, husband, I need you to hold it down because I got a hot mission at work. Of course, you got to do that sometimes too. But me putting the family on the back burner on a regular basis, no, I would never do it.
Yes. I
And
love
there's
that.
freedom in that. There's freedom in that.
And is that new? Because that wasn't like that before. So I feel like, I feel
What?
like where the Army will understand that, like, put.
So of course, I've been in a long time. I was a baby officer, and I remember when my husband said to me, "Hey, we don't see you." I was like, "Oh." So I was getting ready to cultivate a not good habit as a baby officer, and that has resonated with me. So I decided I'm not cultivating a not good habit. So I haven't. So for me, I can't speak for everyone, but
Right.
for me, I maintain my freedom in that. Now, sometimes people might have gotten a little look at me sideways, and I'm okay, and I know how to address it and be professional and still give my unit what they needed because I've always been very good at my job. But there was an understanding. If this unit isn't good to go, I cannot give you all what you need from me. I won't ever be able to give you all what you need from me because
Yeah.
this unit is fragmented.
Yes. I love
I
it.
mean, I've deployed for Pete's sake without my unit. My husband
Wow.
held it down. So, with the two of us, with two soldiers
Yeah.
in one house. So we know how to do it and we've done it well. Um, but I just say that because I want women, stop knocking on my door. I'll be there. Sorry. Real life
Don't be
happenings. This
sorry.
is what
In an
happens in the
hour.
Warfield's
Yeah.
household. Hey,
They was
real
like, you
life
said
happenings.
my kids aren't here, so I get it.
But what I'm trying to say here is this: as women, and as we talk about evolution, and as we talk about self-awareness, and as we talk about communication and things like that, there needs to be a level of freedom that exists.
Mm.
And if we don't allow ourselves to be caged per se and operate in that freedom, we can open up our capacity to do more. And not only do we open up our capacity to do more, we will inspire others around us to do the same. And then before you realize it, you've created a movement. Others around me started adopting how I functioned because they saw me do it. And they've seen me be successful with 12 children married to a soldier
Wow.
with almost 3 decades of service.
Don't forget the 3 decades. Listen, I think that is
Nearly 3 decades,
nearly,
almost
almost.
27 years it'll be. Yeah.
I think this is the perfect moment then for us to wrap up a little bit, but we have to make sure that we find out what Girl Organize That Life, right? You're the CEO. Please tell us about your organization as well as how people can contact you.
Yes, my pleasure. So, Girl Organize That Life, where I help other executive level busy mothers, mompreneurs, and lady leaders who may still struggle with burnout. I help them to pivot with poise despite the noise. I help them to find clarity. I give them a roadmap of success using our signature A-step G.P.S framework to help them to live a more centered life. And a lot of that comes from my personal dynamics of being married to a soldier with 12 kids and doing that successfully. So I coach other moms in how to do that. And if you would like to work with me or have a call with me, or we can go deeper, certainly you could go to girlorganizethatlife.com. You could go to all of my socials. It's the same thing, Girl Organize That Life, to find us. Or you could also look me up by my name, Leslie Latimore Lorfields.com, and all of that will come up as well. We do have a masterclass coming up next week, June 25th at 8 p.m. So feel free to go on our socials and find that. Come in. It's free. It's free 99. And you can come and get some of my mom hacks on how to do that. And we're prepping for our very first live event in September. There'll be some information coming out for that as well. So you can save the date for September 13th and 14th. Excited. Got some speakers lined up, some good lined up, and even
Where
a
are you
male
located
panel.
at? Let's see.
I'm
Where's
in Maryland. I'm in the state of
Maryland?
Maryland.
Close,
Okay.
Yes.
close enough.
Yeah, I'm cool. I'll be there next, yeah, be there
So
next
very
month.
excited about some things that's coming forward. Yes.
Right.
Love that. I love that. We would definitely love to see you live as we start to be witnesses to your transition into your zone of genius.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for blessing us today with your
Yes.
Thank you for
presence
having
and
me.
Love your
just so
energy.
much. Yes, all the things, all the things. So thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. Guys, you guys don't even know how much pivoting had to happen prior to, listen, as you can see, our sister Dr. Obiama was trying to get on, but she's
She
in,
dropped off. She
yep,
came on.
she's in a different
We miss
state.
you, sis. We'll catch up with you.
Yeah.
We'll catch up. We'll catch up. Internet was not being nice, but that's okay. Thank you all for joining us on this episode. Until then, we love you and we'll see you soon. Don't forget to like and comment. Let us know your thoughts, and we will share the link to Leslie's upcoming events. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.